Okay, go back in, Troy. You go back in and take his thing off. Take his lid. Take his lid off. Ready? Hey, Troy. So maybe you could talk a little bit about the cave.
The cave. Oh, the nightmare of my life.
Hey.
Yeah. That's a bad one. That's I've had that about 2 times in my life. That's a premonition dream there. Same dream all the time. 3 a.m. in the morning, every morning. I've had it 2 times in my life, and every time I've had it and failed to act on it, bad things have happened. That's a bad nightmare, that one. I haven't had it lately. I hope I don't have it in the Rockies, because if I do, I'm not going up against the grizzly bear and test no sprays if I have it. Last time I had it and didn't pay attention, it cost me damn near the life of my whole crew out on the Mission Abbey, work for the M&R. So it's a bad nightmare. It starts off always the same. I'm falling into this like a black abyss, and it's dark, and I just keep falling, free falling, and it's erotic in the way that I'm totally, the fear that's coming over me is just crippling. And as I'm falling, I want to get out of it, but then I want to go down deeper because I want to explore it. So I'm fighting between going down and coming up. And I usually come up. And whenever that dream occurs, always something bad happens. So from now on, whatever I'm going to do that day, I don't do it.
You ever see the street being used for fire?
For firefighters and fire prevention, I can see it. I've had fire department come to me, fire talk to me about the street.
I don't sleep, I just dream. It's a great line. I'm thinking about that. About dreaming. Read somewhere that percentage of the population, they don't have an inner voice. They can't hear themselves think. Some people don't dream. And then I started thinking about daydreaming. You know, most of us are stuck doing a job we don't like. You can only focus and try so hard for so long. You know, where does your mind wander for those hours where you're trapped somewhere? That's what's happening. You know, very few people are doing something that they genuinely love. You can be happy doing other jobs. But if you ask yourself, what do I want to do? Like, what would you rather be doing? And you can't just be sitting around watching TV, because you wouldn't be happy doing that either. I've had the privilege of being able to experience those moments in my life where you've basically got no responsibility. You can sit around, lay about, and do nothing. And I'll tell you, it didn't bring me any happiness. Being useless, being unproductive, it's just, you know, it does nothing. It's just like money. Right? Money won't bring you happiness. And it won't. It can alleviate stress and a burden and responsibility. But if you're an unhappy person, you have no friends, no family, yeah, money will help. It can fill the void, but it's just like drinking. It's just like drugs. It's not permanent. It's temporary. You can only buy so many things. You can only waste so much time. I wonder if people's mind wanders in those situations as well. It's like, where do you go for all those hours during the day? It's like you're trapped in this waking dream. And, you know, how do you escape it? I bring this up You always hear about people that are dreamers. Most of us have a dream, life beats it out of a lot of people, and people give up. Or people have a dream, and they're surrounded by people that are weak and want to. It's like they can't handle your success, so if you're trying to achieve something, they can't have that. I knew someone once, I worked with someone, they were trying to quit smoking, and this person's mother-in-law was just so against it. Like, why are you trying to quit smoking? Don't quit smoking. You know, your husband, like, he's still gonna smoke. And it's just like, those moments of you trying to be better makes them question themselves. It's almost like it holds a mirror up to them and they're exposed. And if you're with a bunch of guys and all you're doing is drinking and wasting time, that's great. But if one dude in that friend group goes, this isn't it, like, what am I doing? Like, I gotta do better. I can do more. And you realize that those people aren't your friends. It's like they can't handle you holding that mirror and exposing them, because then they have to look at themselves and they're like, what am I doing? This all goes back to just this constant dream and being elsewhere. And a lot of what we talk about here comes back to purpose. You know, I feel like that was a huge theme in my dad's life. He had some rare gifts, rare ability to make money on his own in really obscure ways. He did good. You know, if he would have been smarter, he could have did really well. But even when he was doing something, I feel like there was always a bit of a struggle. It's just like it's not that it was never enough. It's like that song, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. You got this person doing all these things and achieving all these things, and it's not enough. I feel like I'm always dreaming, like I'm never here. I go to work, and you know what I mean, you do the best that you can, but your mind kind of skips out on you, especially if you're listening to music. You kind of just wander. You're like, what am I doing here for 8 hours, 9 hours? Well, my job's okay, like it's not a bad job. And you just go like, what else could I be doing in this time? And there's so many things we're doing where I find I almost like I space out. It happened to my dad a lot too. I'm just stuck in this waking dream of never being present. Even if the present moment is good, I'm just never here, somewhere else. It's like this strange fantasy of another life. But one thing I've realized though, is the more that you dream about these things, and not just think about it, I mean the more that you put it into practice and you attempt to go for these goals, whatever they are, they do manifest themselves. And whether you believe that's divine intervention, manifestation, law of attraction, whatever you want to call it, or just maybe hard work and you're just putting in the effort and you're getting somewhere, because it makes sense that if you work towards a goal, let's use personal fitness as this example, if you eat healthy and you go to the gym, I mean eventually you will see results. You might plateau and need to reevaluate where you are, but eventually it's impossible not to hit some sort of a goal. If you're trying to be successful at something, again, whether maybe you're doing martial arts, you're going to get better at it if you just keep showing up. It's the same thing for a dream, whatever it is. If you think about it, if it's always on your mind, but then you're working towards it, you can make these things a reality. I feel like my dad was able to do that a lot, conjure these things that seemed almost impossible. Times he could conjure people out of nowhere, you know. He'd lose everything. He'd be sitting around, down on his luck behind a cigarette, just, you know, it wasn't a good philosophy, but he's just like, man, if someone just called me and gave me money, that'd be okay. I don't want to work for it right now. If someone just picked up the phone and just said, hey Troy, here's X amount of thousands of dollars. They did. dozens of times. So many times that he counted on it. Even when everything else was going up in flames. He goes, I put in a body of work, at some point someone's going to call me for something and I'll be able to snowball it. And he did. But in those moments in between, he was just caught in this, he was just sleepwalking. It's like he put his brain in some type of autopilot mode, somewhere in between reality and a dream, to get through it. I wonder how many people do that. Yeah, it's early in the morning right now, and I just had this cooking around in my brain. I was driving around, and I had some music going, and you just kind of switch off. At least I do. That's why I was a truck driver for a bit. I was a terrible truck driver. I couldn't stay focused. Probably some ADHD or something, but I'd just put music on and just zone out. And just drive. And I miss stops and stuff, or I wouldn't be thinking about what's coming up next. But I wonder how many other people are like that. You know, how many people do we pass every day on the road? What are we all doing? Which leads me into, I always had a really naive philosophy on life. Got it from my dad. Dad had an inability to see ahead. He couldn't do it. It was this moment and only this moment, and whatever pleasure that you could derive from this singular moment, that was it. Didn't matter about tomorrow, next month, a year. His philosophy is, I'll be dead by then. Didn't matter. Didn't matter if you couldn't pay rent. Didn't matter about the roadblocks in the future. It was irrelevant. So what can we do right now? What can you give me right now? Do we have money right now? Can we make some things happen right now? Let's do it. And it really warped my brain on time, working towards something. It's like maybe you just got a good job and you show up to work for 20 years straight and you buy a house. That block of time, which is so easy to some people, it just made sense, especially if you go back in the past. Like, that's what you did. 30, 40 years into a company, you made good money, and you retired. It seemed astronomical. It would make me mad thinking about putting time in like that to something you don't want to do. That's something you're going to hear a lot around here as well as we just start to open up. Doing things that you don't want to do. My dad never did anything he didn't want to do. It's not good. But anyway, as time goes by for me now, I feel like I can look back on 15 years, 10 years, 5 years, and you can put my life in these little blocks, and I can see where it's fallen and where it's rising. And I play this little game at the end of every year. I'm sure a lot of people do it, and I just try to be doing better than I was doing last year. And that can mean anything. It's baby steps. Maybe you lost a pound, maybe you have 100 extra bucks, whatever it is. It's all that matters, is a small little change. And since I've just started focusing on that, everything's gotten a lot better for me. You know, we're still chasing that waking dream, but it kind of just hit me out of nowhere today. Just listening to some music, thinking about some things I wanted. Last video, I was talking about a fight my dad and my best friend and I watched. It was a Conor McGregor fight, and he was always talking about. They did that documentary on Conor, and long story short, he was talking about, you know, driving some crappy beater car, but to him it was like a Mercedes or something, or a McLaren, whatever your car is. And then now, you know, he's got hundreds of millions of dollars. But I wonder how many other people play this little game in their mind where whatever you're doing, maybe, and you know, again, music really helps with that. You're just teleported to some other alternate reality. And you're kind of just fantasizing about what you want. And I think that's important, is to hold on to that. and not have people in your life that are going to say, yeah, but you could never do that, or you could never do these things, or what are the chances of that? What are the chances we just die unhappy? Pretty fucking high. So while you're here, you might as well do something and go for something. Doesn't seem like there's much reason for anything else. Just do what you're gonna do.